In the heart of Maplewood, a quaint little town nestled between rolling hills and frosted woodlands, Christmas was more than just a holiday. It was the soul of the community. Every year, the town square would light up with colorful fairy lights. The scent of pine and gingerbread would fill the air, and the sounds of cheerful carolers would echo through the streets. Families would gather around the grand Christmas tree in the town square, its twinkling lights shimmering like stars against the dark winter sky. But this year, it was different. There was no tree, no decorations, no bustling Christmas spirit. The square, usually filled with warmth and light, stood eerily bare. The town had been through a difficult year, one full of loss, hardships, and unforeseen challenges. People were distracted, and the Christmas traditions, which had once brought the town together, were forgotten. No one had organized the annual tree lighting. No one had planned the festivities. It felt like the magic of Christmas had slipped through their fingers, like sand in the wind. Among the townsfolk, 10-year-old Lucas felt the absence of the Christmas tree more keenly than anyone. His father had left 2 Christmases ago, and since then, the holiday had never felt quite the same. Lucas's mother worked long hours at the bakery, trying to make ends meet, but her weary face told a different story. She was doing her best, but Christmas had lost its sparkle. There were no presents, no carols, no joyful holiday decorations at their home. Just the quiet hum of life trudging on. On the evening before Christmas Eve, Lucas was walking home from school. The town square, usually so full of life and wonder, looked like a shadow of itself. The empty space where the tree should have been made his heart ache. He couldn't understand how everyone could just forget about it. Didn't they realize how important it was? As he trudged through the square, head down, a soft voice called out to him. "Cold night, isn't it?" Lucas looked up to see an old man sitting on a weathered bench near the fountain. His coat was threadbare, his boots worn, and his white beard was frosted with a layer of snow. His eyes were a pale blue, and they sparkled with an unspoken kindness. "Why are you sitting out here?" Lucas asked, pulling his scarf tighter around his neck. "It's freezing." The old man smiled warmly. "I suppose I'm here because I like to watch the snow. It has a way of making everything look new again. You should try it sometime." Lucas wasn't sure what to make of the strange man, but he felt drawn to him. He sat down on the bench beside him, and the two of them sat in silence for a moment, watching the gentle snowflakes drift down from the sky. "You know," the old man said, breaking the silence, "this square used to be full of life at Christmas. The tree stood tall, lighting up the whole town. But now—" He glanced around, his voice trailing off. "Yeah," Lucas replied sadly. "It's like no one cares about Christmas anymore. No one even bothered to put up the tree this year." The old man chuckled softly. But I think maybe the magic of Christmas isn't in the tree, or the decorations, or the presents. Maybe it's in the things we do for each other. Maybe the magic has been here all along, waiting for someone to see it." Lucas wasn't sure he understood what the man meant, but something about his words struck a chord deep within him. Before he could ask more, the old man stood up slowly, dusting off his coat. "I think you'll find it," he said, smiling down at Lucas. "Just remember, sometimes the most important things are the ones we don't notice at first." Then, before Lucas could respond, the man turned and walked away, his figure disappearing into the falling snow. That night, as Lucas lay in bed, his mind kept returning to the old man's words. The magic of Christmas wasn't in the tree? How could that be true? The tree had always been the heart of Christmas in Maplewood. It was where families gathered, where joy was shared, where memories were made. But then he remembered something else the man had said. Maybe it was in the things we did for each other. What if there was something they could do to bring the magic back? Not with the tree, but with the people? Lucas's heart raced with excitement as the idea took shape in his mind. He could bring the Christmas spirit back to Maplewood. Maybe it wasn't too late. He could still do something small that would light up the square and bring people together. He didn't have a lot, but he had enough to start a spark. The next morning, Lucas put his plan into action. He grabbed a piece of scrap paper and began writing. He knocked on doors, shared his idea with anyone who would listen. At first, people weren't sure what to think. A boy organizing Christmas in a town that had forgotten its spirit? It sounded impossible. But Lucas didn't give up. He asked for help, not for money or grand things, but for small acts of kindness, decorations, old ornaments, lights, and whatever people could spare. By Christmas Eve, the square was transformed. It wasn't the grand, towering tree that had once stood in the center, but it didn't need to be. People brought out what they could: handmade ornaments, knitted garlands, and candles made from wax and love. Children strung popcorn and cranberries, laughter echoing through the square. Lucas's mother too was there, carrying a basket of homemade cookies to share with neighbors. And slowly, the square began to glow. In the center stood a small, scraggly tree, a pine that Lucas had found on the edge of the woods. It wasn't much. It didn't have the beauty of the grand tree they'd once had, but under the twinkling lights and with the warmth of the town's collective effort, it looked magnificent. It glowed with a kind of quiet beauty, a symbol of something greater than any ornament or decoration could represent. As the last lights flickered on, the townsfolk gathered around the tree, and there, among them, was the old man. Lucas hadn't seen him in the crowd, but as the old man approached, their eyes met, and the man gave Lucas a knowing smile. "Well done, my boy," the old man said softly, his voice warm with pride. "This is Christmas." Lucas smiled back, feeling something deep in his chest, a warmth that had been missing for so long. "Thank you," he whispered, unsure of how to put into words the joy that filled him. That night, as the snow continued to fall gently over the town, the people of Maplewood realized something. Christmas wasn't about the biggest tree, the most elaborate decorations, or the perfect presents. It wasn't about what was on the outside. It was about what was in their hearts. It was about coming together, sharing what little they had, and remembering the true spirit of the season: love, kindness, and community. As Lucas sat beside the tree, his mother wrapped her arms around him, and he could feel the warmth of family. For the first time in a long time, his heart felt full. The man had been right. The magic wasn't gone. It was here, in the people around him, in the love they shared. And as the snow fell, Lucas made a silent promise to himself. He would never forget what the old man had taught him, that sometimes the most important things in life are the ones we can't see, but only feel. And that, he thought, was the greatest Christmas miracle of all.